Heyo, Omnidogs and Omnikittens. It's Omnidog from Omnidog's Vault, here with some more reviews of books that may or may not interest you. I think most of them will, because I found most of them very interesting. So I'm happy to recommend them to you. Let's go to the first one. What is it? Once and Future. Uh, this is by Kieran Gillen with great art by Dan Mora. Premise of this book is that they found the scabbard of King Arthur at a dig site, archaeological dig site. The bad guys have, and they use it to raise King Arthur from the dead. This woman and her son are monster hunters, and there are lots of monsters involved in this. Actually, I apologize. It's not her son. It's her grandson. She was at an old folks' home. He was on a date. He got a call that he needed to be with her grandmother. She felt something happen when the scabbard was found, and indeed some things happen. Monsters start showing up, the undead start showing up, and monster hunters are needed in Great Britain because King Arthur has been raised from the dead to be used for nefarious purposes. And so they set out in search of the bad guys and King Arthur, and because King Arthur is trying to put together, it turns out King Arthur was not the nicest guy, and he wants to rule Great Britain again and take over things, and so do his merry band of followers. And so the grandmother and grandson, and it turns out the grandson's date for the night, are all on this monster hunting quest. And so I thought this book was a lot of fun. There's a woman here who has raised, this woman right here has raised this perfect son to be the Sir Lancelot of the army, the Knights of the Round Table, and she's spearheading the effort to get King Arthur raised from the dead. And it turns out she has an interesting connection to an old man in the book and the old woman in the book, and it is really well done, really well told story with several twists and turns that you don't expect, and raising King Arthur from the dead. I mean, come on, how cool is that? So I've dug this book a lot, and it is really exceptional. I thought, in my opinion. It's from Boom Studios. It's not expensive, and if I'm not mistaken, it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. Yeah, to be continued. So I'm eagerly awaiting Once and Future Volume 2. The next book, Cullen Bunn's Manor Black, with art by Brian Hurt. And this is about a sorcerer that has he is about to depart the mortal realm. But he doesn't like his kids and doesn't want to give his kids the power and the secrets that he has. So he sort of takes in a young magician who is kind of on the run from her own things to, let's see, Roman adopts a young mage to whom he gifts his powers with the hope that someone good will take his place against the evil forces out to bring down his family and legacy. He doesn't trust his own kids, but he trusts this stranger, and it's full of the supernatural and the gifts that he wants to hand down to this young woman, and the machinations that go on behind the scenes with Roman Black. Let's see, Roman Black's family. So there's a lot of family internecine dynamics, and it's really cool. The art is really cool. The story is cool, and this is going to be a good continuing series from Cullen Bunn. This is Manor Black. Here's a good book, a good thick book, Canto. This is quite a story. If I Only Had a Heart. This is about a race of little, I don't know what they are. They look like little robots, but they have their heart. This is a fantasy. They have their hearts replaced by clocks, and therefore they're apparently incapable of emotion. But Canto, and they're also not supposed to have names. They're slaves to these other people, these other things. They're slaves to. And one day, and then there's these creatures called Malorexes that are supposedly evil, but he ends up befriending one, which is good because those two end up going on a journey because his beloved's heart, he's looking for his beloved's heart so she can live. And all the hearts are apparently contained in this one place that he has to journey to. So it's all about his amazing journey with amazing art and all the gumption that he has, that he goes on this quest. It is full of heart and full of emotion and very endearing. And it goes, and it's about, he goes to confront the person that has his beloved's heart in order to return it to her so that she may live. And of course, it's so much more than that. He has it's another epic journey type of story where he finds out all kinds of truths and finds out all kinds of things about himself and the people who enslave him and about the person that is in charge of the slavers. And it is a great journey with wonderful art. I highly recommend this book. It has got lots of emotion and it's lots of fun. I highly recommend Canto. Who wrote this? Somebody that I was not familiar with. David M. Booher with art by Drew Zucker. Highly recommend you guys check this out. It is really cool. Let's see. The next book, Zojaqan. Now this was an interesting book. Excuse me a sec. This was an interesting book. It involves a woman who unexplainedly falls into this other planet, sort of falls into it, learns to exist. She befriends some of the natives, and then she gets pulled forward into time consistently. And every time she does, she gets to know the people a little bit better, and she tries to impart some of her wisdom because at first they are enslaved, then they are at war, and then they're always having some kind of issues. And she has suffered the loss of her son on Earth and somehow has gotten pulled onto this planet. But her lessons keep getting misconstrued. She's like, be kind to each other, be generous, don't be greedy. But somehow the lessons don't get learned, and she keeps getting pulled into the future, and she finds the future is not what she expected it to be after the lessons she is given. So I would say this book, it's a little disconnected as you might guess, since she keeps getting pulled forward and the aliens keep not getting what she's talking about. So if I had to grade it, I'd give it a solid B-. It's a little disconnected is what I will say, that it doesn't really seem to form a cohesive story enough to me for me to highly recommend it. I think you might want to try it out digitally first because the art is actually very nice. And they build stone monuments to her and stuff that she finds in the future. But they always goof up her message. So that's Zojaqan. That's put out by Vault Comics. And then the last book is Naomi by Brian Michael Bendis and David Walker. I believe they both wrote it. Yeah, they did. And the art's by Jamal Campbell. Highly recommend this book. It's set off by Superman's visit to a young woman's town where he fights a guy, and Naomi starts questioning. She's adopted. One of the local guys, a big local unusual guy, seems to know a lot about her adoption date. She's questioning her adoption date. She asks her parents about her adoption date. They're very hush-hush about it. Then it turns out that there was a reason they were keeping it from her. I don't want to spoil this too much because it's so fun to read exactly about how Naomi becomes a hero and what the backstory is. I really don't want to ruin it for you because it's fun. It's a fun surprise. There's several surprises in this book. The art is great, and I just want to tell you that I highly recommend you read Naomi. I really dug it, and I really want to keep reading it. So I'm looking forward to more of this. And I just don't want to tell you more about the story of her family or her adoption or what her powers turn out to be, because that'll ruin the surprise, and it's just really fun. I highly recommend DC's Naomi, even though it says Wonder Comics, it's a DC book. Season 1, I loved this a lot. It's a really, it's kind of a fresh new take on the birth of a new hero. I dug it a lot, and I think you will too. So I highly recommend Naomi. And that is it for this review. So thank you for watching. Please give me a like, subscribe if you can, and leave a comment. I always respond to comments. Thank you for watching. I hope you all are safe out there. And peace and love. Peace and love.